The volcano is calm, for now, but when will it stir? Hundreds of thousands of people live in its shadow. They honor it, led by one man, gifted with the ability to understand the spirit atop the mountain. It speaks, but few can understand. One man can.
Premara remang slamu ngambrengen kati karunaning kaswa sing yen ning marga malalat miring sang kondo wasat mojo leng-leng lalu mangulati.
Mount Merapi, at 2,968 meters, is the highest point in central Java. 6 kilometers from the summit of Mount Merapi lies the village of Kenarejo, a small village of less than 500 people. It is a typical rural upland Javanese village where the people live off the land. Subsistence farming at altitudes too high for growing rice, the village survives by harvesting the abundant grasses that are used to feed cattle down the mountain. The felling of trees and the gathering of the rich volcanic soil, a highly potent fertilizer. All time and labor-intensive work that goes on year-round. Here, life moves at a different rhythm, and it imbues the surroundings with a sense of timelessness. Despite it being so close to the summit and well within the danger zone, there is no record in living memory of it having suffered from Merapi's eruptions. Although well within walking distance are visible scars in the earth and signs of past lava flows. The village is distinguished by an ornamental entrance at the end of the road. Here marks the start of the footpath to the summit. A hard climb of nearly 3 hours for even the fittest. On a more esoteric level, it is the symbolic gate that heralds the domain of the spirit atop Merapi. It is here where our world comes in contact with that of the spirits. It is here that the Juru Kunci resides. Like his father before him, he is directly appointed by the Kraton, or palace of the city of Yogyakarta. Mbah Maridjan, guardian of Mount Merapi. As one of the most important palace servants, he avoids the limelight, for he is a simple man. He is meticulous, building and maintaining a route from his house up to the shrines near the summit of the volcano. The work is difficult, and at altitude, it is made harder still. Despite being over 80 years old, he is as vigorous as a man half his age. But in the clearing of the wild grasses, in the maintaining of the footpath, there is a serenity and patience that comes, a communion with nature that makes him more attuned to its changes, a gift that allows him to sense the moods of the mountain, unlike any other person in his village. In Javanese, this acute sensitivity is called doyo. By all outward appearances, he seems to be no different from his neighbors. A devout man, every day he prays. And yet throughout Java, he is an esteemed figure of respect and great responsibility. For people believe that he is able to communicate with the spirits upon Merapi, and that signs of an eruption come to him in his dreams, along with his vigilant watching for subtle changes in the mountain. His position as the guardian has been passed down by tradition, and for the access that was granted to the filmmakers to see his life and hear his words is an exclusive look into a previously mysterious practice. An intensely private man, this program is the first time in years that he has consented to be interviewed, but only on his terms. It was weeks before he invited the camera into his home. No lights or special equipment. He spoke, and when he was done, the filming ceased.
Lajeng wonten swidak gangsal menika kirang tenaga tumrapipun yen wonten utusan ingkang kemajengan menika lajeng nyuwun dipun kei pembantu kula dipun lebetaken dados pembantu. Dados pembantu menika lendak targetan swidak gangsal katampi pikantuk kekancingan saking ngarsa dalem Kraton Ngajokerto Adiningrat 7 sekawan.
Mount Merapi, or the Fiery Mountain, is one of the most active volcanoes in the region known as the Ring of Fire. The most geologically active area in the world. Its brooding presence dominates the central Javanese landscape, one of the most densely populated areas in Indonesia. In its shadow, hundreds of thousands of people live and farm in a highly complex agricultural and social system. In plain view of the mountain lies the city of Yogyakarta, one of Indonesia's largest and most culturally significant cities. One of the last surviving sultanates in the Indonesian Republic, it has kept both its village-like atmosphere and held on to aspects of its heritage as the seat of the long-lost Javanese empires. But the volatility of the land has not left this city untouched. One example is the Tugu, a tower in the center of Yogyakarta, directly in line with Merapi and the Palace of Kraton. Marking a place once reserved for meditation, it was destroyed by an earthquake in 1867. The more modest structure one sees today was built to replace it. The temple complex at Sembesaris, built in the 9th century, was buried in an eruption and laid hidden from sight and memory until it was accidentally discovered in 1966. According to Professor Miksik, renowned archaeologist and expert on Indonesia, past eruptions have been the catalyst for epochal events in Javanese history.
It does seem likely, although we cannot be precise, that there was some kind of major eruption around the year 928. Several of the temples were buried around that time. Not directly by eruptions, but more like these flows of the cold lahars down the slopes of the mountains, referred to in later times as pralaya. And they never carved any more inscriptions in Central Java after this for several hundred years.
The two jewels of Indonesia's cultural heritage, the Prambanan Hindu Temple Complex, one of the largest temples of its kind outside of India, and the world's largest Buddhist stupa at Borobudur, are situated nearby, and their histories are closely bound to that of Merapi. Prambanan was damaged in an earthquake following the most recent eruptions, and Borobudur, which sits on a dry lake bed, is assumed to have lost its water after volcanic activity cut the flow of one of its sources. In the wayang kulit, or Indonesian shadow play, the mountain, or Gunung Nan, plays a central role. It is both a marker of time and a force that overlaps both the material and spiritual worlds. The legend of the creation of Merapi is told in the drama known as the formation of the Gunung, or mountains. According to Javanese legend, the world was in tumult, for it slanted westward to the setting sun, creating an imbalance. The gods decided that the balance must be restored and ordered a hero named Bathara Bayu to travel to the farthest reaches of the world. Because Java had long since been visited and influenced by Indian travelers and culture, that place was the Himalaya. There he was to take the mountain from the earth and bring it to Java. Bathara Bayu had the gift of flight, and he carried the great mountain aloft and returned to Java. As he flew at night, he thought that he had arrived at central Java. Mistakenly, he dropped the great mountain in the wrong place, and with such force that it broke apart, creating many of the smaller mountains in West Java. Seeing his mistake, he picked up the largest remaining fragment and flew on to central Java, where he dropped the mountain. As it fell, it broke apart again and created the lesser mountains neighboring Merapi, Mount Merapi, and others. At the site where Merapi stands, at the very moment the mountain came to ground, were three legendary figures: Empu Romo, Empu Permadi, and Naye Gadung Melati, deep in meditation around a sacred ceremonial fire. Being devout and pure of spirit, they were protected. They spontaneously slapped the ground, which opened up beneath them, saving themselves and the ceremonial fire from being crushed. As the great stone settled, the spirits of Empu Romo, Empu Permadi, and Niagadung Melati remained. And significantly, so too did the fire.
Nek sing bauresan niku titanipun kendhit. Kendhit niku Nyai Gadung Melati niku lenggah ten kendhit. Nah, sebab kula mbiyen niku nggih mboten kok kula niki ngerti ning ngoten. Kula pas dina napa turu teng kendhit niku. Kuwi teng Merapi niku do turu teng kendhit, kula niku dipethuki piyayi putri nyandang ijo. Kembacak ijo. Nggih cara Jawi kan. Lah kula ora ngendikaning ming nuwun sewu panjenengan nika dalemipun saking pundi? Sampeyan niku saking pundi ya? Dadene bengi-bengi. Aku ke omahku rak ya kene iki. Dadi pemahaman iki. Omahku ya kene iki. Ning nyandange ijo. Paham kula ya kuwi Nyai Gadung Melati kuwi lenggahe nang kendhit Merapi.
At nearly any time of the day, one is likely to see some activity on Merapi. In scientific terms, it is a classic stratovolcano, or a composite volcano. Tall, conical, characterized by a steep profile and composed of many layers of hardened lava and volcanic ash. Its eruptions are periodic and explosive. It is the type of volcano that perpetually ejects material and builds up mass in its dome. When the dome's size and weight become unstable, due to weight and pressure, it collapses and releases ash, mud, hot gases, and lava. Merapi doesn't spew lava vertically, but there is a greater danger in the more concentrated mass that rolls down the mountain. Merapi is an ancient mountain. Traces of its activity have been dated back as far as 10,600 years ago, and the belief in the scientific community is that it is a newer peak built upon the remnant of a more ancient volcano. Merapi is noted for its consistency of activity. Generally, small eruptions occur every 2 years, larger ones every 10 to 15 years. Every 60 years, a major eruption can be expected, and truly cataclysmic ones have been chronicled to occur about every 600 years. Contrary to popular belief, it is not the lava that poses an immediate danger. It is the hot gases that come down from the slopes at high speeds, silent, searing, lethal. Another danger is one that can occur months, even years after an eruption. Lahars, a type of mudflow of volcanic material and water, are an ever-present hazard on the mountain and are caused by rain mixing with old flow deposits. Once on the move, they can travel at speeds of over 10 meters per second.
Negatifnya, kalau saya hitung-hitung, sebenarnya dampak negatifnya jauh lebih kecil dibandingkan dengan dampak positifnya. Sepanjang kita mengetahui, memahami, dan mau menyelami karakter Gunung Merapi tersebut, maka dampak negatif Merapi akan dapat diminimais.
Because of its volatility and its location among one of the world's most densely populated areas, Merapi is constantly watched and scrutinized. There are observation posts well within the danger zone. At 4 kilometers from the summit is the Babadan observation post, where Merapi's every activity, the sound, its movement, and even the contents of its plume are constantly being monitored. The scientists are well aware of the dangers. Earlier eruptions had devastated posts in the past, which have been set up to watch Merapi since 1924. Now, posts are equipped with safety measures. A bunker that might offer protection and the ability to survive the lava and hot gases of an eruption. Or, in the unfortunate case of Kali Adem, 6 kilometers from the summit, it became a tomb. All the information is shared and interpreted at the Bureau of Mitigation and Technology Development of Volcanology, located in Yogyakarta. Here, every second of the volcano's movements is recorded. Besides the scientific work, the department is actively involved in both coordinating responses to eruption activity as well as public awareness campaigns.
Ini masih kita lakukan dan harus kita lakukan secara kontinu, terus-menerus, tetapi berganti-ganti personil sampai masyarakat yang tinggal di kawasan rawan bencana 3 yang jumlahnya kira-kira saat ini hampir 11.000 ini memiliki kesiapsiagaan terhadap dirinya sendiri, keluarga, dan lingkungannya.
With over 130 million people, Java is the most populous island in the world. Agriculture is the most important economic sector and is characterized by family-based small farm holdings. The average farm size in Java is about 1/5 of a hectare, with rice being far and away the most important crop. With an equatorial climate, it is possible for farmers to harvest 2 crops a year, using methods that have hardly changed in centuries. In no small part, active volcanoes are also crucial for some of the world's most fertile soils. The key is tephra, the material produced by a volcanic eruption. Tephra commonly contains potassium and phosphorus, 2 nutrients essential to plant growth. As tephra weathers, these nutrients are released into the soil, acting as a time-released fertilizer. Nothing that is given up by Merapi is gone to waste. Stones and sand are collected and used for a variety of purposes, besides agriculture. Other volcanoes in Indonesia have been tapped into to exploit the nearly limitless thermal energy inside. But volcanoes' energies are not always able to be controlled by man.
Ini ngengi bab sanes-sanesipun menika mboten ming nek panuwun menika kula isih cilik menika nek arep nganu niki nek arep ngabani sing lahar Merapi kuwi nek Merapi ngetokke lahar niku ora jeneng jeblok cara sakniki ning bangun.
In April 2006, increased seismic activity and a growing bulge in Merapi's cone indicated that fresh eruptions were imminent. authorities put the villages on the slopes and along the base of Merapi on high alert, and local residents were prepared for a likely evacuation.
Pas waktu kejadiannya itu saya nggak berada di sini, cuman malam harinya saya berada di sini, dan memang suasana malam itu begitu berbeda dengan malam-malam sebelumnya. Suasananya begitu mencekam. Di sisi lain karena sebagian penduduk yang ada di Kali Adem itu mengungsi, cuman yang masih tinggal itu penduduk di Kinah, dan itu mereka mengikuti tidak mengikuti sebenarnya, cuman karena Mbah Maridjan juga masih tetap tinggal di situ, makanya mereka juga mengikuti untuk tidak mengungsi.
Notably, Mbah Maridjan stayed put all through this cycle, which was a sign to many that this was not an eruption of great consequence. Nonetheless, the people of his village spent months exposed to the potential wrath of Merapi.
Biyen. Nek biyen iki mung paribasan mung kaya dene mboten, nggih namung karepe iki lingkungan iki nyuwun wilujeng mubeng Kali Adem tekan mriki niku biyen niku ngaten nggih pancen niku nek mung pribadi. Jane kula ya ora ngerti wisik niku.
With the only road down the mountain blocked, those that remained in Kinarejo sought shelter in the mosque, the sturdiest building in the village. There, they waited and prayed.
Kondisi di Kinarejo ya itu waktu itu pas kejadian itu ya agak mencekam. Artinya di sini kan dan penduduk sebagian besar itu sudah dievakuasi oleh pemerintah, jadi sudah ngungsi. Itu yang tidak ngungsi hanya di rumah sini, itu sekitar sini aja, kita pindah di masjid aja.
Lajeng kewajiban simbah menika memang berat. Pramila kala wingi kawruh simbah menika ngungsi ngantos mboten ngungsi awit memang kewajibanipun simbah menika memang wonten gero kan nggih. Berat nek wong yo ngendi kewajiban kahanan kaya ngono malah ditinggal mlayu-mlayu, mangke disetosi kaya ora tanggung jawab.
Merapi ki aja dinekke mbledas jeblok, Merapi ki mbangun. Nek mbledas nek plembungan ki entek. Nek bangun kuwi, tegese bangun kuwi ana paribasan kesehatane. Gunung kuwi ya ngetokke uwap utawa ngetokke kotoran kuwi maksude nek cara menungsa kaya kula nek watuk ki jarak ya ngetokke riyak. Nggih. Flu atau flu. Nek ambekan ya biasa metu kebul. Nek watuk ra ngetokke riyak, nyangka cuh.
It is believed that there are quasi-divine entities atop Merapi, ruled by the legendary Empu Romo. Wedged between powerful natural forces, the volcanoes and the sea, long ago the Javanese ascribed characteristics to them that made them easier to be approached, appeased, and understood.
By 2,000 years ago, the Javanese are already beginning to take things from Hinduism and Buddhism. And the fact that none of them are incorporated into anything having to do with these rituals suggests it must have already been more or less established as a unified belief and practice system before 2,000 years ago.
It is no surprise then, living in a land between such strong natural forces, that the belief that these forces, the volcano and the sea, are 2 points on an axis, and atop this sits the world in precarious balance.
But the idea is that the palace itself is the pin, the kind of axis around which the rest of the universe rotates. Therefore, it and Merapi are equivalents. The Merapi does the same thing, performs the same function, more or less physically, you could say, whereas the palace does the same thing symbolically speaking. It is kind of a metaphor for society. The society also will become split up, chaotic, unorganized, unless there is a ruler to keep everybody more or less in their proper positions.
From Merapi in the north a straight line can be drawn that goes through the Kraton, or Palace of Yogyakarta, and thence to Parangtritis in the south, on the shores of the Southern Sea. This is the dominion of the Nyai Ratu Kidul, the Queen of the Southern Seas, who controls the violent waves of the Indian Ocean. Sometimes she is referred to as one of the spiritual queens, or wives of the Sultan of Yogyakarta. It has been believed that the success of any Javanese king depends on his mindfulness of these forces and his attempts to balance them, thus maintaining the order and safety of the world. As legend has it, Panembahan Senopati, founder of the Second Mataram Kingdom, the greatest of ancient Java's empires, was meditating near the Southern Sea. He wanted to pray that his son and heir would be a greater ruler than he was, and that his kingdom would survive and thrive. Such was the power of his meditation that the energy he released attracted the attention of Ratu Kidul. The waves stirred and parted, and she came out of the sea on her chariot. Stunned by her charm and beauty, Senopati fell immediately in love. And the Queen of the Southern Seas, accustomed to taking men into her depths for brief amusement on a whim, could not resist his charms. He followed her to her underwater home. It was here that they made a sacred pact, a marriage of body and soul. Senopati then asked for the Queen's support in helping to sustain the Mataram Kingdom's greatness. Before they parted, she gave him a gift, the universal egg which Senopati had to eat, so that Ratu Kidul would be his forever and the lover of all of his heirs and descendants. Senopati was hesitant. He feared that if he ate the egg, he would be transformed into a pure spirit like Ratu Kidul. Apparently, this exchange had been overheard by a palace court servant, a gardener, named Ki Juru Sapu Taman. For the continued safety of Senopati, he volunteered to eat the egg. He vowed that whatever was to become of him after eating such a thing of unknown power, he would remain loyal and at the service of the king and his descendants. Instantly, Ki Juru was transformed into a monstrous spirit, and his spirit spread over the land. Ashamed of his appearance, he retreated to the top of Mount Merapi. In tribute to his loyalty, Senopati gave him the name of Kiai Sapu Jagad, the guardian of the kingdom. The Mataram kingdom prospered and in time became the Sultanate of Yogyakarta, and offerings celebrating Ki Juru Sapu Taman's loyalty had then become paired with those for Ratu Kidul at the Southern Sea. Thus, a tradition was born, one which continues to the present day. That tradition is now called Labuhan. At the start of August of every year, the Sultan Hamengkubuwono X leads the ceremonies that give offerings at both the shores of the Southern Sea and atop Mount Merapi. Labuhan is from the Javanese word melabu, which means to throw into. For months in advance, the palace servants gather and create the offerings in anticipation of the 2 days of ritual preparation that precede Labuhan.
Carane labuhan menika nek teng pesisir kali teng Merapi benten. Teng Merapi menika nggih namung mboten ngangge aturan apa-apa, mung butuh digawa mrika nyangking arit dibabat dalan lajeng dipun gonjokaken. Ayo ora. Arepan ning Gunung Merapi, arepan ning pesisir kudu padha aturane, kudu ana aturan cara kedinesan, carane kraton.
Little has changed since the first Labuhan was led by Panembahan Senopati. The first day of preparations starts with the gathering of the myriad items that are to be offered for Labuhan. Everything must be cleaned, purified according to tradition, and the women involved in the tasks must be clean as well, meaning that they must not be pregnant or in their menstrual cycle during the preparations. Everything is done by hand, and all the items involved have artistic and material value, as well as spiritual significance. The first day is called Nobluk, which signifies the preparation of the cooking of the appam, or cakes. The appams are made with rice flour, red sugar, noted for its pleasant aroma, salt, yeast, and coconut milk. The preparations are overseen by the female relatives of the Sultan, and they are led by the daughter of the queen. The ingredients are blended by hand, and once mixed, they are left to ferment overnight.
Ya, kalau di keraton sendiri kita selalu melakukan kegiatan tradisi ini secara benar ya, artinya ya kita lakukan terus dan ya seperti itu, begitu. Jadi karena kalau kita merubah atau kita tidak melakukan itu pasti masyarakat terutama budayawan akan protes. Ya, sehingga kita pasti melakukan sebisa kita, semampu kita pertahankan semaksimal mungkin. Tidak hanya budaya, kesenian juga, ada tradisi, kemudian segala sesuatunya.
Besides food, the Labuhan offerings include other items representing the apogee of Javanese artistry in woodworking, metallurgy, and the making of batik. Gathered from the workshops inside the kraton and throughout the Sultan's domain, the final assembly starts by adorning the boxes with flowers, followed by a ritual listing of the items to be placed in boxes. There are full outfits made in different motifs of batik, along with perfume and incense. This is for the Kiai Sapu Jagat, so that he may be dressed elegantly, despite being ashamed of his physical appearance. The second day of preparations starts in the kitchens of the kraton, where the cooks await the delivery of the fermented mix to cook the appam. As the first cakes are prepared, a member of the royal household gives prayers to make the cooking process auspicious, and to acknowledge that what we get from life is through the help and cooperation of others. That simple philosophy is at the heart of Labuhan. In spite of the charcoal fires and the heat of the tropical morning, the traditional Javanese virtue of displaying a placid outward calm is maintained. This is made all the more difficult when dressed in traditional kebayas. There are two sizes of appams made. The first, the alit, is a smaller cake, meant for the Thanksgiving meals, the kenduri. The second, appam mustoko, signifies the size of the Sultan's throne. It is stacked in three that forms a triangle, and one in the center is larger and will be served. Once all the mixture is cooked, they are allowed to cool. The preparation of the food is women's work and cannot be rushed, for there are certain customs, or adat, that must be respected, so the men must wait. To the Javanese, humbleness, inner and outer calm, are a way of life. Part of the Labuhan ceremony will also include ritual feasts, which, like the gifts to be offered to the spirits, are laden with symbolism and meaning. Throughout Indonesia, how food is presented is given great importance, so each basket is reverently and painstakingly assembled. The appams are arranged into stacks and covered with banana leaf. When moved, they must be approached in a crouched position, signifying respect and humility. When all is ready, the foods are brought to the bangsal manis, where all the items are checked and segregated for separate locations. It is then put into the bangsal Sri Manganti, a chamber where everything is kept until the start of Labuhan. This area is forbidden to all but a few select palace servants. The final ritual, before putting the foods into the chamber, is reflective of the many cultural influences one finds on Java. The fusion of the indigenous Javanese with Hindu and Islamic elements into a syncretic rite. By tradition, the Labuhan is held one day after the day that commemorates the coronation of the Sultan. In the current Javanese calendar, that day is the 30th day of Rajab. The Javanese calendar is a lunar calendar, so the precise date fluctuates year by year, but normally it falls within the first half of August. All is ready. Come the new dawn, the offerings will make their journeys, each accompanied by a contingent of the Sultan's personal guard and servants to the mountains and the sea.
Penembahan Prabu Jagat menika juru utamanipun penembahan Senapati titanipun ndar 3 jagat lajeng badane saya ageng malih dadi raksasa lajeng dikentenggake teng Gunung Merapi. Nggih, labuhan niku titanipun aduh kados pundi dalem ngemban dawuh saking Kanjeng Penembahan Senapati dadosan ngaten iki wis dadi pesti. Kowe kuwi kudu manggon ning Gunung Merapi tak paringi jejuluk Penembahan Prabu Jagat saben taun tak kirim labuhan kuwi. Ning mangsa bodhowa nek Merapi kuwi ngetokake guwang asap utawa kotoran aja nganti ganggu karo kraton Ngayodya utawa kawulane.
On the day of Labuhan, the village and the roads leading to Kinarejo are thronged with people. The night before, the offerings started their journey from the palace of Yogyakarta and made their way up the mountain, protected by soldiers from the Kraton. Such is the importance of this day that local dignitaries, politicians, as well as the palace servants who live in the region are present. Rather than being a solemn occasion, Labuhan combines centuries of inherited tradition with a celebration of the best of Javanese art and culture, both serious and lighthearted. There's a full gamelan orchestra from Yogyakarta to perform throughout the day. Flanked by soldiers from the Kraton, the offerings are brought forward. They were carried up the mountain by court servants. In front of the offerings, Wayuning Mansokolo Labuhan, a dramatic dance, is then performed prior to the arrival of Mbah Maridjan. The local regent who has supervised the transport of the offerings then officially hands them over to Mbah Maridjan and his assistants. The offerings will then be brought to Mbah Maridjan's home, where they will remain until the climb up the mountain in the morning. An area is cleared for additional performances. The Jatilan, or horse dance, is known for its otherworldliness and violence. Celebrating the fearlessness of the mounted troops that rebelled against the Dutch in colonial times, the dancers enter a trance-like state in which they can withstand pain that they inflict upon themselves with whips and broken glass. Along with the offerings for the spirits, the Labuhan ceremony also allows for individuals to receive blessings of good fortune. The rush for fruit offerings, which are said to ensure luck for one's family, becomes frantic, but ultimately good-natured.
ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون.
Later in the day, at Mbah Maridjan's house, the women prepare food to be eaten after tomorrow's ceremony. The rice is formed into a cone, signifying the mountain, which is called Nasi Tumpeng. Blessed by a palace servant and made sacred, it is to ask for safety from Merapi for those who eat of it. It will be served with a black feathered chicken called dayang, which is prepared by an assistant to Mbah Maridjan. Black feathered chickens are a traditional Javanese protection against external forces, both spiritual and physical, that might seek to do harm. Afterwards, there is a wayang kulit performance that lasts late into the night.
Dina samangka jeneng kita kadawan dening Sang Pikulun Bathara Guru
Menak sarepan menika kula menika nggih boten kertas. Boten kertas. Ming mapanan nek kula sak tilem mriku. Nek kula sak tilem Gunung Merapi ten Kendhit niku pancen pucuke Gunung Merapi menika wujudipun kraton. Ya kula saged matur ngoten niku. Kula niki ketoke munggah gunung kok ana ajeng mlebu kawah niku ana pintu ageng. Pintu ageng lajeng nggen kawah niku rata. Terus nggen sing mburine pintu kawah niku ana pintu-pintu ditutup.
The morning air in the highlands is cold and bracing. Most of the people making the trip up the mountain have been up all night for a feast and wayang performance. There is a palpable energy present as Mbah Maridjan leads the procession up the mountain. There are two shrines on the path to the summit. The first, Sri Manganti, is 2 kilometers from the village of Kinarejo.
Nek Sri Penganti niku mboten nonton acara kedandel kenapa? Rene Sri Penganti niku biyane menika sila dampit. Sri Penganti niku biyane niku nek teng ngriku niku carane iki pintu setunggal iki digawe amit-amit ngobong menyan. Nggih. Meniku. Bar niku nggih pun nggih ketuk tetep dhuwur. Ning dereng dibangun zaman semanten. Dereng dibangun zaman Kyai Wonokaryo Ngrakah niku watu niku mung ketok sak pinten sithik niku dipuntel suket ora ana aturan apa-apa. Ning bareng pun bapak kula kalih kula niku wis melu. Niku rak namanipun barang sing perlu kanggo keperluan keraton iki ya kudu diatur rak ngoten.
Here, the offerings are laid before a shrine and shown to the spirits, entreating them to accept them and the intrusion of mortals upon their mountain. One of the changes to the ceremony is that now women palace servants are equal participants. But still, only males can become the guardians and their assistants.
Dalam tahun putri iki wis antarane tahun manu ya. Ya kuwatene tahun 85 anak saiki iki gandeng ana sing melu kekalem barang. Nek mbiyen niku di dalem ki ming 4 kuli didaftarke di dalem ki ming mbiyen bapakne Pak Marso kono. Terus kula kale Kakare Sukarjo wis ora ana. Nggih, mung 4. Nah sakniki dadi akeh kuwi tambah denderek distatke ditampa terus. Ha kuwi mula saiki dadi akeh. Dadi nek dandan-dalan ora me wong 4.
When the procession reaches the second shrine at Kendhit, higher up the mountain, there is already a crowd waiting for them. Some people have braved a night on the mountain in the harsh cold of altitude to witness this event and to receive Ngalap Berkah, a blessing from the Creator of the world. The boxes are opened and the offerings revealed. The offerings are meant to honor Iyang Konjang Pangaran, called the Lordly Grandfather, the legendary Empu Romo and Kiai Sapu Jagad, protector of the second Mataram kingdom, which ruled Java nearly a millennium ago, and all subsequent dynasties, including the current Sultan of Yogyakarta. It used to be that the items were thrown into the cauldron, but that practice has been abandoned, partly because it was too dangerous to go right to the edge of the crater. The crowd's anticipation grows, for now portions of the sacred rice and black chicken are to be given out to the faithful. It is said that those who receive them can be assured of safety for themselves and their family from Merapi's potential fury. As one might expect, the people's demand for a portion creates a brief stampede before an orderly fashion of distribution can be imposed. Thus ends Labuhan, and for Mbah Maridjan, a chance to return to his daily routine.
Niku kula ben sakit jarang kula nek kula ben pernah. Mehina ana dawuh ya mangkat, nek mboten nggih mboten. Ning mboten dipun parengaken diiksane sing kuwasa.
For the people of Central Java, the sense of a duty done and honor and respect being paid. And so there is the prospect that Merapi will leave them to live their lives in peace, at least for another year. Within weeks of Labuhan, an earthquake was monitored off the central Javanese coast, and volcanic activity has heightened on two mountains, Semeru and Krakatoa, the site of one of the most violent volcanic explosions of modern times. Merapi itself remains active, and if its past is any guide, another eruption cycle within the next year is a possibility that cannot be ignored.